My name is Frederick Charles Walker, and I'm born in 1921 at a place called Stirling in the Adelaide Hills. The war come along, so I thought I'd go and enlist first, but they wouldn't take me. So I waited for them to call me up in the militia, and they did. I was in the militia early in the piece, and I did my initial training at Woodside, and come into 3 months, they said, that's it. And so I said, well, I'll sign up for full time. Then if I did that, I'd be able to transfer into the AIF. And from there into Melbourne training. And when they said I finished my initial training, they said, what do you want to do? You can go and do anything, any of the services. But they said, we'd like some volunteers. We're going to start a armour division. So I thought for a while, and I thought riding's better than walking. So I put my hand up. I said, right, I'll be in that. So they had got some tanks, with American tanks, and we developed into quite a good squadron of tanks. So we trained on Matildas for quite a long time. Mm-hmm. And we had a really good regiment. And I thought we might have been going away soon. But then they started swapping us around. They were breaking up other units that would become obsolete, and they didn't know what to do with a lot of the personnel. And they swapped some of my mates and went, and I said, well, I've had about this. And I've been talking to a commando not a few days before, and they thought they might be going to go away soon. So I got asked if I could have a transfer into the commandos. So they said, yeah, and I went over, had that interview over there, and they said, can you handle this? I said, yeah, you look at my records. I've just done some jungle training courses, come out through them all right. Mm-hmm. Because they wanted a radio operator, and I was a radio operator. So I fitted in well. But they said, you know, it's pretty tough. I said, yeah, I know that. So it was pretty tough too. Everything you done was on the run. I mean, run. You didn't jog, you run everywhere. Yeah, I quite like the idea of being a commando. I like the way they operate, just small groups and things like that. So then an orderly come running over one day, and they said, you've got to report to the ordering room. I said, what have I done? They said, you better go back and see. And when I got back there, one of the officers from the old regiment was there. And the officer from the commando, they said, your officer wants you to go back to the other regiment. Mm-hmm. They said they need you back there. So I said, well, I don't want to go. I've already transferred. And they said, well, that's beside the point. You are going back. So I ceased being a commander at that time. Right. I went back to the regiment. And it was nearly 6 months, 8 months or something like that before we left Australia again. So then we went to New Guinea, and we didn't do much for a while. We're waiting to go up to WWII. That's where the fighting was going to take place. So we went into position, our squadron, B squadron. There's A squadron headquarters, A squadron, B squadron, etc., to make up a regiment. And we would by ourselves B squadron. Mm-hmm. So we went doing patrols up through the mountains and things like that. We were there one day, they come and said, you're going on a patrol in the morning, and they got out a map, and it was all green map, but New Guinea, just green, but it had a black dot way up there. And somebody got a ruler out, and that measured about 25 miles. So they said, get your gear together and you can leave early in the morning. So we headed off, got some compass bearings, and we headed off. We picked up a track or through New Guinea, anywhere there's habitation, that these tracks they take natives to whatever they want to do, pick for leave, food, or whatever. You know, they're working tracks.
Yep.
They're only about that wide, foot wide.
Mm.
So we picked up one of these. It was going in about the general direction where we want to go. And we went for quite a while, got into the mountains, and the hilling started to get a bit steep. And we come through a big patch of kunai. It's a tall grass, and very coarse, and very vigorous growing,
Right.
and it grows so thick. And when we were going up the side of the mountain, it was sort of this high.
Mm.
It was so hot. And we used all our water in for the first half a day.
Mm.
Anyhow, we managed to get through to it. And we got out that night. Then we had to find some water. So we had to go over another hill to find a creek that was running water in it.
Mm.
Because you've got to be careful where you drink water.
Mm.
We have that tablets for chlorinating and detasting. So the thirsty as we were, hadn't had a drink for half a day in the 30 degrees heat. It was pretty hot. So it was long, once you filled your water bottle up, you put your tablets in them, you had to wait a long time for it to activate properly. And then you put a detaster's tablets in that, then wait again. So everybody's got their tongue out.
Yeah.
So that sort of finished that day, and we camped out. But yeah. So that went on for quite a while, and then we got a call to say that we're going to move.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't going to go to WWII. The rest of the regiment was going to go up there. So they said, you're going to Bougainville. But we were soon in action, and we're going all right. And things were happening, but it was very rough. And they couldn't get the jeeps to where they could keep up with us to keep food up or anything like that. We moved too fast for them, and the road, the terrain was so bad. And beside that, the Japs had troops back out there, and they were shooting up our jeeps as soon as they saw us.
Yeah.
So, for one thing and another, the jeep being shot up, and the distance we were travelling, and the terrain, we was on our own.
Right.
So then they thought they'd drop it by aircraft. A biscuit bomber would drop food, but they forgot what we needed before we finished. I'm only getting bully beef and barbed wire. So we for the rest of the war, we lived on just bully beef.
Wow.
Half a tin of bully beef a day each. That's all we had. We were advancing all the time. And we come to a place, and they called us back. They said, they want you to go back and go to that little track that goes off. You'll find when you get back there, there's a couple other tanks coming from the other way, and it's an infantry. We always had a company of infantry with us. That's 100 men. And we had 6 tanks up forward, and a 7 troop tank and 9 troop. And 7 troop was the leaders. And we went back there, and that found that little track. But they talk about track, it's only that wide. So we had to do a bit of bushback bashing. So daybreak the next morning, we headed off. Our tank, first one in again, dipped into the river, and we went home. Nothing happened. We got across. We got all the tanks across, 6 tanks. And never had no shots fired, no nothing. And we broke through this big green patch of vegetation, and it was like a forest out there. It was not a lot of undergrowth in it. It was trees. And they were smallish trees, but they were about 50, 60 feet high.
Wow.
Something like, might have been less. So we made up through there, trying to find our way between the trees. And then they opened up on us. Artillery landed amongst us. They knew where we were. So we copped the artillery, then they opened up on us. So we found out where we were. So anyhow, we got fought our way out of that. But the artillery followed us all day. And that was that night we pulled into a place, a late afternoon, and the artillery had stopped for a while. I think the Japs had moved back for another position,
Mm-hmm.
and our tank pulled into a little track, sort of. I think it was where the river would flood sometimes and left a bare patch, but anyhow, it was a little clear patch, but a lot of thick patch on our left. You couldn't see through it. So we pulled into there. We'd been in the tank for about 7 or 8 hours, so everybody needed to get out at some time. So very carefully, we had to wait for the shells. Bad to stop in one place. It was quite dangerous. We need to keep moving, but we had 4 blokes that needed to get out. So our gunner got out, and I thought, I waited for the shells to stop, and then I got out. But no sooner got out and the shells started landing, and I dived in under the tank, waited for it to go. Then I had to get further away from there. More shells. I had to keep waiting for the shells to stop. Oh, they were landing a bit close.
Yeah.
So eventually I said, time to go back. So I listened again. If you can hear the shell, you've got 4 seconds.
Right.
If you hear him, then so it's not long to get somewhere. You got to run, find a log or something to get into or whatever. So I had to do that a couple of times, and I got to the tank, and then I dived under the tank, and my mate must have been under there because I run onto him head on underneath. He did the same as I did, but some run head. So I got out of there when the shells were going. I thought, get out of here. We've got to get this tank away from here. Too dangerous to stand. So I got out of the tank, and more shells, and I dived around the back of the tank, and I dived into the bushes, but I went straight through it. And there was a hole. They were dug big holes, and we found all over the place. They were about 7, 8 feet deep, and they were. Well, you could have put a tank in them quite comfortably. So when I landed down there, I had my pistol in my hand and full of sand. I looked around, and so I got me clean and right. Got as much sand out of my pistol as I could. And I thought, how the hell did I get here? I was expecting the Jap to poke his head over the top. I thought, I'll get 1 or 2 if they do. But anyway, I thought, I've got to get out of here. But it was too high for me to reach. And a deep sand in the bottom. I tried running and jumping, but you couldn't do it because of the loose sand. So out there, I didn't know what to do. So I thought, I had a little cleaning rod in my holster for a month. It's about 6 inches, and it's got a loop on the top. It's got a slot there, you put cotton wool in there. But so I got that, put it on my finger, and I thought I'd gouge a hole. I thought I might find a root. So I started gouging a hole, and then the next thing up there was a little root about that big. I thought, oh, lifesaver. So I managed to scramble up. I had it sort of sloping up. I dug a lot of dirt away in this time, and I could scratch up there. Being shadow, I kept the shadow so I could use it to wriggle again. When I got on this little root, I put my hand right to the bank, and I could manage to pull myself out very carefully, and I got out of there. Yeah. And about 50 years afterwards, we was at a long while after, we used to have a reunion in Melbourne every year, and Labor Day, and we were talking about this, and one chap, he relayed the same story as I did. I said, was it you under the tank that I run my head on? He said, was it you that run into me? And after all this time, we didn't know that. Never had time to tell each other. So many little incidents that went on during this time. But there was always something that was the funniest one. Then one day we got a message saying, if you go back a little way, we think we can get to Jeep up there with a hot box. So they made a mob of blokes follow up this Jeep with a hot box, and there was a bully beef stew in it. That was really nice. So we're sitting there having this bully beef stew, and I saw a loaf of bread over there. Extra, we had bread here. That's quite good. And beside that, I had a tin of jam I'd been carrying for a long while. It was getting a bit bruised, but it was raspberry jam, and in 30 heat it was fairly thin. But anyhow, I don't know why I didn't. I threatened to take the top. I was going to eat it by a spoon, but because I had that longer, I kept thinking about this raspberry jam and nothing to put it on. So when they went back to this place, we had our bully beef stew, and I saw this loaf of bread, and I said, I'll have that. So when we were going to go, I got the bully beef. We went a little way, and we stopped down, and I got my tin of jam out, put it on the stump. But I also delivered our loaf of bread around our 12 blokes. Yeah, and they all sat there with a slice of bread in their hand, waiting for the jam to come along. And somebody said, down! And heard the artillery come, and it was landing amongst us. And before we had time to go anywhere, so we just went where we were. And my tin of jam sitting on an old stump up here. Anyhow, the artillery went on for quite a while. Eventually it stopped. Pope read it up and it went out. Everybody all right? Oh, yeah, everybody's okay. So I went to get my tin of jam, but a lump of shrapnel had gone through about the size of a 10-cent piece. It gone right through my tin of jam and out the other side, and all our jam and run out and run down the stump. Being thin jam in the first place and 30 degrees heat, it was quite thin. It just run away. Yeah. I couldn't even lick it off the stump because it was all mouldy. So we got out of that one all right. We was always filthy dirty. No, hadn't. Well, I don't think we. Once early in the piece, we had a swim in a river creek. It was a muddy creek, but it was quite nice. But that's the only wash we'd ever had. So we thought. I said to myself, I'm going to sneak down there. So I went down there. There was a big washaway just the other side of where they come through, and a really deep washaway, all jagged. So I thought, I'll creep down there. I'll sneak down that washaway, and then where it broke into the creek, I was sneaking there, and I had a look there, and I could put my gun just there in hand's reach, and I just slipped into the water. Yeah, I can't describe what it felt like. Like just can't. It was so nice. Oh yeah, dangerous. Yeah, you must never do it. So you have to go with your boots on, but I had all my clothes on because in the rivers they have bull routes. They're like a stonefish and they have spikes on them, and you could step on one. Don't go through a boot, they tell me.
Wow.
So anyway, I just sneaked in by the creek, and I said I can't stop here longer. And next thing I know, there's water spouts all around me, and water spouts. Then I heard the gun, and so I threw myself into the bank, and I crawled out there, covered in mud. Time I got back there, so got out of that one again. Yeah, all these water spouts all around me. Yeah. When the told was coming home, got on the ship next morning, and next thing we know, we pulled up in Melbourne, in Brisbane. Yeah, another 3 days home. So we arrived home at 1 o'clock at Wayville, 1 o'clock, Christmas Day, 1945. My dad was waiting at the railway gates way over there, and my carriage stopped right off of there.
Yeah.
We could see him straight away. Yeah, I'm very pleased to see him. I haven't seen him for several years now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and I said, well, where's Laurel? That's my wife.
Yes.
To be. He said, she's waiting by the main gate. Well, it took us so long going through the paperwork to get off the train to start with, then all the paperwork before we could leave was, well, we got home, it took 2 hours to do that. And I met her out at the front gate. That's right. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, that was war over for me. I'd like to tell them the story. Some of the stories. Do what you think you can do. You can do anything you've tried to do, want to do. It's a hard life, but life full of hard knocks. We had quite a few of them in that 12 months we was there. We lost 516 altogether there. It's quite remarkable how our blokes put the Jap to rout. It just a tenacity, no give up, just keep going ahead.